All right, then good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Software Galaxy. So just to give you a little bit of insight, the galaxy as we know it is full of miracles, if you will. So we have big stars, we have small stars, we have planets, we have nebula, we have all sorts of mysterious things. And when we look at our daily life in software development, there are things that look like a galaxy as well. So we have these big companies, which you can compare to the big stars in the galaxy, and they shine really brightly. But as with these big stars in the galaxy, they will fade out pretty quickly. And then you have the small stars, not really interesting, but they are there for billions of years. And you have planets and you have comets and all that stuff. And I sometimes feel like, okay, we as developers, we are in that whole galaxy and we're moving there. And we have a lot of stuff going on around us, which sometimes we're not really sure, okay, so what is actually going on here? So what I would like to do is be your tour guide. So I'll take you on a journey through the software galaxy and explain a little bit the things that we see along the way. So what do we have in terms of what's in our software galaxy? What are the stars? What are the planets? And so on. And what I would like to do is basically split this into two parts. So the first part is, let's take a look at what's happening around us. So if we are travelers in the software galaxy, who's traveling with us? What's around us? And then in a second part, let's take a look at ourselves. So how do I fit into all of this? Because in the end, what I would like to give you and what I would like you to take away is a little bit of insight. How does everything work in our industry, in our teams, in our companies? And then to see how can I make my life a little bit better and a little bit easier, and bring back the fun in what I'm actually doing as a developer in a project, in a team, and so on. So let's take a look at our fellow passengers and their destinations. So who are the people that we experience our daily work life with? So what do they want? Why are they there? And what are their intentions? Because I think all of us know that in a company, in a team, in a project, we're not alone and we cannot deliver big things alone. So we need these other people or fellow passengers alongside. If you will, the modern word is stakeholder. So you have a lot of stakeholders. And let's take a look at who are they. And what I would like to compare this with, so if we're on a journey in our spaceship, what I would like to have is a crew, and a crew that really likes to be there, and a crew that loves working together, and a crew that has a goal. Okay, so we want to bring the project forward. We want to have this great product. We want to have this awesome piece of software and whatever. And that's my perfect crew. So when I grew up, I was a big, as you can imagine, Star Trek: The Next Generation fan. And as you see, so if you see these crews in TV or anywhere else, they're always perfect. They're working together. Everyone looks out for each other, and everyone likes each other. So that's the goal. We want to have this big camaraderie. But then I'm pretty sure all of you know this. If you take a look at the reality, things certainly become different. So it's not like that big, everyone loves each other and everyone is happy to work with each other. But then you have things like, okay, there's the stress in there. And it turns out often that not everyone has the same destination as you do. And not everyone wants to go to the exact same place that you want to go. Not everyone is interested in this perfect project. And some of the people that are on that journey with us, they're not even in there to reach the same goal as we do, but they're just there to enjoy the journey. They don't want to reach something. They're just happy to be on that journey with you. And one of the difficulties is bringing all of that together. So if you care for one thing and your teams or your superiors or your managers or your clients or customers, they care for another thing, then it's really not that easy to fit that everything together. So let's take an example. Just imagine this is a project, any kind of software project that you find yourself into. So, and then let's take a look at who is in there with us and what makes or what may make things difficult. So, who's in the project? We are in the project. I'm in the project. I'm a developer by heart. And I would like to compare this to Spock from Star Trek. So we're very logical. We're focused on the technical stuff. We're focused on getting the back or the best solution in there, and just trying everything that we can have to be a logical being, because we're working with technology. And when you work with a computer, with a programming language, logic is what we do each and every day. So this is our attitude, if you will. We're the logical guys, and we try to make things work out. So we're in that spaceship. And then who else is in that spaceship with us? So let's just imagine we have someone from sales who's also interested in our project. So, and what's the interest for sales in there? Sales may be interested in getting a very large project or a very expensive project or a very big solution, because very large project, many people, big solution, that means a lot of money. So sales may be interested in getting a lot of money out of that project. Or perhaps they're even already thinking about the next project. So we're in our current project that has been sold, and sales is really in there to just take a look, what's the next project? What is the next thing that we can sell to the client? So they may be not really interested in what you're interested in, which is getting the best solution out of there, but they want more money. So, and they're in there with us. So we're already two. And then you have your project manager. So what's the interest, or what's the big interest of your project manager is, well, to have the project being executed smoothly. Project manager, they don't want surprises. Yeah, they have their budget. They know, okay, I have this and that number of people, and this is the solution that we want to achieve. This is the amount of money that I have for that solution. So I just want to make sure that everything runs according to plan. So the project manager is really in there to bring everyone on the same page and to make sure that the project is smoothly and that we don't have any surprises in there. Then there is the customer or the client. So he or she, what they usually want, I mean, they want the best solution and they want flexibility. So yeah, we may have, or the document, the implementation document, it tells you that you need to implement this and that, but yeah, it may be nice if you could also do this, anyway, if you could also do that. So they may not really be interested in what you're interested in is the best technical solution, but they may be interested in something else. So, for example, we talked about that the sales team is interested in getting the most amount of money. So they want cash. So what about the client? The first thought that comes to mind is, okay, so the client wants the thing to be cheap, right? So they want everything without paying a lot of money, which is one option that really may be the case. On the other hand, a client may also be interested in getting the most expensive solution. So from a first point, you think, why would the client want the most expensive solution? Why does he want me to blow everything up and have even more in there than I have planned? Well, it may be the case that your client is showing to him or wants to show to his boss that his project or his team or his solution is very important. And how do they do that? If they say, well, if my project costs a lot of money, then I must be very important in the organization. So that may also be one interested. So you as a developer I want to bring the best technical solution, and I know, okay, I don't need all this fancy stuff, the latest framework or whatever. This is a simple problem. I have a simple solution. That's it. Everyone is happy. Well, maybe not. You need to know what is your client actually looking for. And just these two examples, is he looking for the cheapest solution or is he looking for the most important solution? Both may be options, and you just need to be aware of what's in there. So he's also sitting in our spacecraft. Then we may have a third-party vendor. So in a big software project, it's not that unusual that there are multiple companies in there. So you're designing and building one of the subsystems, and another vendor is building, designing, and delivering another subsystem. So you need to collaborate on that solution. And in an ideal world, of course, we're all technical people. We want the best things, so we collaborate to get the best solution. But there may be a vendor that originally wanted to do your job as well. And he now is frustrated because he has to share part of the implementation with you. So he might try to trick you. So he may try to show to the client or anyone else that they think they're actually better suited for the job. So if you had given this to us, then we would have given you the better solution and so on. So you may try to compromise what you're doing. And given the analogy, if we're sitting in that spacecraft and we have a straight heading, and these are the guys who may turn the heading to another direction, or who may have the signposts reversed, or do anything else within the project. Just be aware that they may also have a different target or a different agenda than you do. And so they're in our spacecraft. And then we may have the client or the colleague. So my colleague, your colleague, and he's also in that project. And he always wanted to start working on a certain kind of framework or a certain kind of library, or he wanted to show that he can do certain things on his own. Because in our organization, your organization, that's the one who may look for the next promotion or for recognition from his colleague, from his boss, from his manager, I don't know who. So he may also have a different motivation than you do. You, of course, remember, I want the best solution. I want the great product. I want to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And then there is this guy who may have a little bit different ideas than I have. So all of these people, all of these characters, all of these stakeholders that we've just gotten to know, they are all sitting in that spacecraft with us. And as we've seen, everyone may have a different definition. What is the goal that he or she wants to reach? Everyone may have a slightly different understanding of what is the best way to get there. And now you're in that situation where, okay, in the end, you want to make everyone at least a bit happy. So you need to be a team, or you need to form a team, because remember, that's our goal that we have. So we want to be that great team that does great work, and in the end reaches the goal where we all want to go to. So we need to find some way to make that happen. Because if we just sit there and say, well, I'm the technical guy, I know what we need to do, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to do nothing that I don't find amusing or right or whatever. So that's not going to work. That's the recipe for frustration in your project. And as I said, so I don't like frustration in my project. I want us to be this great crew where everyone helps each other and where everyone knows where we actually want to go. So what we should do is just try to find a way that everyone is comfortable with. And that may include, so if everyone doesn't get 100%, but if I get 90% and everyone else gets 90% of what he or she originally wanted, then that's okay. It's a little bit like if you're out with your friends on a party. So back in times when we were allowed to do that, and you're 4, 5, 6 people and you need to go home and there's only one taxi. So, and then you say, okay, I will take the taxi, and how you get home, I don't really care about, which will help you on that evening. So you'll be fine and you will be home, But everyone else will stay frustrated and will say, oh, that guy, that was the one that left me here and he got home, and now the next time I'm going to spoil his project or whatever. So no, you will find a way to make this happen, where you say, so, okay, we all get into the same taxi, and then we drive to you first, and then we drive to you, and then we drive to you. So I may end up home later, but I will get home. And the others will get home as well. So they may also get there later, but in the end, we all have reached some goal. We're all home. And it's a little bit like that in our projects. So if everyone can get a little bit of what he or she wants, then in the end, we are a crew and we are achieving a goal together. And to get to that point where we can make these compromises and where we can say, okay, this is what you want, and this is what I want, and this is what he wants, and so on, then one of the bases that we need to understand each other. So I need to know, what does my colleague want? What does my client want? And I need to find out what is that. So, and in the Hitchhiker, there is this great thing called the bubble fish. And you have this small fish and you put it in your ear, and suddenly you can understand all the different languages. And wouldn't it be nice if we had something like that for our project? If we had a translator that will tell me, okay, if my colleague says this, but he actually means that. And if my client says A, then he actually means B. So that would be a nice thing, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, there is no such thing as the bubble fish in real life. So we have to be creative, and we have to have some experience or some ideas of how do we do that. And it's reading between the lines. So reading between the lines, what is he actually saying? And maybe straight asking him or her, saying, hey, what is it that you hope to achieve from this project? What is it that you hope to get when we're done? How do you work best? And an example that I had in the past where you see how important communication is I was working on a big app for an airline. And at some point in time through the chain, there was a change request coming into our app where we say, so, oh, the CEO of the company or some very high executive, he said that we need to do feature A, otherwise we're in real trouble. So, and everyone was just, totally panicked. Oh, the big guy, he told us that we need to do this and that we need to do that. So we really need to do that. And what I'm pretty sure what happened is, like, this very senior guy, this executive, he was in an airplane of his company with another, maybe his team lead or whatever. And they had this discussion like, oh, I've seen the app. Wouldn't it be possible to do this feature or to have this feature? And then in each step, so this guy told the colleague that was sitting with him, and he told his team, and he told his team, and so on. And what I assume is that in each level, the thing got more dramatic. So the original request was like, okay, could we do that? And then in the end, it was basically like, if we don't do this, we're all getting fired. So, and knowing about that, knowing, okay, so that was the chain, and knowing that the original request may be something, or may have been something completely different than what ended up in my team, already helps me to analyze the seriousness of the situation. So looking at that we need to communicate with all the other stakeholders, the team members, and so on. Let's see how that or what are the implications for me personal, for me as a developer on my developer journey. So how do I make sure that my journey throughout this galaxy is good? And what do I mean with good is, as I said earlier, I don't want frustration in my job. So in the end, I want to get out of bed every morning and say, hey, I'm happy that I can go to work because I like working where I work. I like the project. I like the work that I'm doing. And I feel good after 8 hours of work. So that's my goal. And so let's see, how can I reach that? The first question that I always ask my team members is, what is your destination? So if we have that spacecraft analogy, so we're sitting in the spacecraft and we're going somewhere. What is my destination? What do I actually want from my job? And there may be a lot of different possibilities. So what I may want is the great solution, as we've already discussed. So I'm happy if I can see the product that I worked on is used by millions of people. Or I'm really happy if I can just go to work, not have stress, more or less fly under the radar. I'm happy if I can be the entertainer to my co-travelers. If I'm the guy that my team goes to for advice, either technical advice or process advice or whatever you want to have there, or anything else. But really, you have to know what it is that you're looking for. Because otherwise, if you don't know where you want to go, and if someone sets you on that journey, like, okay, you need to go there, but that's not where you actually want to go. But if you don't change direction, as Lao Tzu said, you may up where you're heading. And an example is, in the past, I had a boss who told me, well, Christian, you're doing software development now for a couple of years. Now it's time that you start leading projects. And I was like, so, okay, but I don't want that. I'm not a project manager. I don't want to manage projects. That's not what I want, and that's not what I'm good at. And then we had this discussion. Yeah, but that's the way things go in the industry. Well, I said, so, well, that may be true for some companies, and where you have this progression path, like, okay, at some point in time, you become a project manager, and then you totally screw up. We all know the story. But this is not where I wanted to head into. And that's what I told her. I said, no, I don't want to become a project manager. I want to do this and that. And in the end, that was fine. So I said, hey, that's my way that I want to go. You want me to go that way, but that's not comfortable for me. So I don't want to do it. So what I would say is have that path and have that perspective. That does not mean that your goal or the way where you want to go has to change, has to stay the same for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years. That's definitely not the case. So if you see along the way, oh, I thought project management was not for me, but now that I've gotten a little bit more insight into that, or maybe I just tried it out and found out, oh, this is really nice, then it's perfectly okay to say, oh, last year I thought I would go this way, and this year I want to go that way. That's perfectly fine. But at each point in time, so now you should have a rough idea of, okay, where do I actually want to go? And one of the destinations, one of the goals that I often hear is, okay, I want to be a good developer, or I want to become a good developer. And that's perfectly fine. So, but then let's take a look at, what does it actually mean to be a good developer? What makes a good developer? What makes a developer good? And what I try to find out is some sort of common understanding out there. What is a good developer? And I'm pretty sure if I asked 10 of you, I would get 10 different opinions of when is a developer a good developer. So these are the markers. So a good developer, of course, knows how to solve every problem. So he has a very bright mind, and he knows how to do stuff. A good developer knows at least 5 programming languages, and a good developer has a reputation of 20,000, 100,000 points on Stack Overflow. A good developer is, or has, at least 10 GitHub repositories. A good developer actively pushes out his ideas and takes on discussions on Twitter. A good developer is speaking on conferences, as I'm doing right now. Oh, and by the way, a good developer is a perfect father or mother, or a family guy or a family girl. So that's what you see. And of course, that's not how it actually works out. So there is no one that is that perfect. There's no one that fulfills all of these criteria. The perfect developer simply doesn't exist. So, but then again, every one of us, or at least a lot of people that I've spoken with, they're panicking about the idea that this perfect developer actually exists. And they always want to measure up to that perfect developer. They always say, oh, yeah, well, I don't write enough code. I don't listen to enough podcasts. I don't I'm not active enough on Twitter. I don't visit enough conferences. I don't, you name it, whatever. So there's always something that we feel we are missing. And that brings me back to the definition of everyone has a different understanding and has a different idea of what is actually good. When am I good? So there's this great test where you can test yourself for the imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is basically that you're very qualified, but you think you're cheating. You think you're cheating your way because you think that everyone else is better. And at some point in time, people will notice and people will find out that you are fraud. So, which in reality is not the case. So you're competent and you can do stuff, but you feel that you don't add up. And this is my test. So I did the test quite a while ago. I think it's like 20 questions or something that you can take. And then you will see how does it rate you. And obviously, for me, yeah, I have a high probability of the imposter syndrome. But the nice thing that I then said is, okay, so don't panic. So you don't have to be perfect. We all know that. And if you are, for example, in a job interview and you are being asked, okay, but do you know framework A, B, C, and D? And what I have seen is people that are afraid to answer, no, I don't know that. And they say, yeah, I know that. And they know that. And they know that, which makes it pretty difficult to actually get a realistic view of what is your skill set, what is my skill set. If I think I can everything, but I'm just faking it, then that becomes difficult. So just be honest and just say, no, framework X, I've never worked with that. Framework Y, I've seen that. I've done a few examples with it, but that's it. But that really helps everyone to get a good understanding of, okay, what are you actually good at and what do you want to do? And what are the things that you maybe not good at yet? So maybe it's irrelevant. Maybe it's easy to learn and it's easy to teach, and so on and so forth. So it's like an actor. So if you have an actor and you expect from an actor that if he isn't frightened to go on stage, because obviously, well, an actor, that's his main job. But then go to experienced theater actors or TV actors or whatever and ask them, are they afraid to go on stage sometimes? And most of them will tell you, yes, I am. I know it's silly and I know I shouldn't be, but I am. So, but in the end, I know that I can overcome that. And it's the same thing for us. So if I know, oh, I'm afraid to learn that new feature or that new framework or whatever, yes, it will be hard. And I've had that multiple times. So if I start at a new company or at a new product or whatever, I don't know much about the company, the product, maybe even the framework or the programming language. And I know that it will be hard, but I know that I can manage and I know that I can live through that pain, if you will. So, because in the end, what we see in other people and in this perfect developer, if we have him or her in mind, is we only see a small selection. So we may see, oh, he or she, he has this great Stack Overflow reputation and is active on Twitter and blah, blah. But if you look deeper, you may find out, so, okay, that really these questions that she answered on Stack Overflow multiple times and great answers, that they were all from a certain period where he or she just had some time or wanted to do that or whatever. And during that time, he or she didn't do much on Twitter, or he or she didn't attend many conferences. So the reality is more complex than we assume in that moment. So what I would like to say is, you are not the clone of the perfect developer. So you have your own interests and your own areas of expertise and your own ways where you want to go. So just follow that. You don't always have to measure up to this perfect developer that, again, doesn't exist, and that is that Uber thing we all compare to. And just try different routes. try different things. So if you're not really sure, what am I good at? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to focus on? Then just try out different things. With the example that I had, so if someone wants to make sure you become a project manager or a team lead or a developer with certain framework experience, if you're not really sure if you're the right one for this, then just try it. Say, I'm not really sure. Give me a small project. I will try it out, and then I would know how to make that decision. If I'm not doing it, I would say, oh, project manager, no, I don't want to do that. But if you will, the data, your personal data of experience, your experience data is not really that big. So if you've never done that, if you've only heard about it, that may be something that I want to do or that I don't want to do. But if you have tried it out, you have the data where you can really make the decision based on that data that you have. So is that something that I liked? If yes, please do more of it. Is that something that I hated or that I didn't like? Then don't repeat it. Try find something else. And it's very important that you know and accept that you have limits and that you cannot be the perfect developer and that you cannot do everything perfect, and know that and act upon it. And the example that I want to give you is 2 or 3 years ago, I was invited to a conference in Switzerland where I was to give a talk. And the conference was on Tuesday. And the weekend before that, I got a really bad stomach flu. So I was laying in bed more or less the whole weekend, and I felt terribly and really miserable. So, but the only thing that went through my head is, oh, I have to be at that conference on Tuesday. I have to be there. I have to give the talk. I have to give it well, because that's what everyone expects of me. That's what everyone wants me to do. So somehow it got a little bit better, and I managed to get to Switzerland and I managed to get to the conference, but I really felt awful. And literally, I was standing there. I had the cable there. I had the microphone there. And 2 minutes before I was giving the talk, I felt I cannot do this. If I give the talk, I will just collapse right here and there. So 2 minutes before the talk started, everyone was already in the audience. I had to say, sorry, guys, I cannot do this, which was, as you can imagine, pretty embarrassing experience. And then the whole day, okay, so my flight home was in the evening. And then I had to just stay there for the whole day being miserable and feeling really miserable. So what I wanted to do is get back to bed, which obviously wasn't an option. So in the end, I gained nothing out of that except from embarrassment. And I should have known that. And I think big part of my brain already knew that you shouldn't go there. But I did anyway, because I felt, or I wanted to be that perfect guy who can do this. And in the end, now I know, okay, so I have to accept that. If things like that happen again, I know I just can't do it. So I have to cancel, and they can replan, maybe get a replacement talk and so on. So that would have been the right thing to do. And that's what I want to give you is like, okay, if you see there is this limit, then just accept that. You will not become perfect, no matter how hard you try. And then to know, okay, what is good for me, what is not so good for me, do a regular reflection of yourself, analyze yourself. We're very good at doing project retrospectives or retrospectives about the product or retrospectives about financial calculations or estimations or whatever. We're very good at that. And very useful things come out of that. So we do regular team retrospectives, and they're very useful. And what I would like to give you is do a retrospective on yourself. Just look at yourself from the outside, like, okay, during the last 2 weeks or a month, or pick any time that you want. What was good? What did I like? What went well for me in my career, in my life, in my project, wherever? And what went not so good? And why? And what can you take out of that to improve yourself and your experience in the project or in anything else for the future? So do that. And there are a lot of sources of wisdom that you can tap. So, of course, you know what you did, and you know your feelings, and you can have that as a first start. But then there are also other sources of data that you can tap into. So I sometimes feel like, okay, the last week I didn't really accomplish anything. So it just felt like I didn't do much. But then what you can do is just take a look at your commit history of the project that you're working on. And you will see, I thought I didn't do anything, but there are tens or hundreds of Git commits in my repository. So I must have done something. Or look at the release notes that you did, where you see, I was a part of that. Or look at the calendar where you saw, I didn't really produce much in terms of code, but I had some very fruitful discussions with some colleagues. And because of the discussions that I had with them, they were able to deliver more features or better features, or they are now able to use a different framework, or you name it, whatever. You can also ask your teammates or your clients or your boss or wherever, just saying, hey, during the last project that we did together, what were you thinking I did really well? Or what would you have wished for me to do different? Or any other kind of feedback. So just get that data from yourself and from around yourself, and then reflect on that and make the decisions for yourself. So if you know, this went really well, so what were the key factors in that? What did I really do to get it well? Or on the other hand, if this was a disaster, so how can I try to avoid this in the future? And then you'll be a lot more happy with yourself, because you have that larger view. So, which brings me then to the end, which is a great quote from a NASA astronaut who went to the moon, William Anders, and he said that we came all this way to explore the moon, but the most important thing that we discovered, so that NASA discovered while going to the moon, was the Earth, because they were able, like you see in this picture, to get a look back at our home planet. So if I was able in this in this talk to give you, or to motivate you to get a different view on yourself by listening to this talk, then hopefully you'll be able to get some out of that, to do something which in the end will make you a better space traveler, or really a more happier developer, team lead, QA person, whatever your role in your project is. So with that, I say thank you very much for your attention. And I think we do have a few minutes for some Q&A if there are any questions. So looking at the chat, QA starting in 2 minutes. All right, cool. Then we have 2 minutes left. Okay, so the question, could you describe your first job you had as a developer? So my first job as a developer was in, I think it was early 2001, and that was working on an e-commerce project. So back in those days, we didn't really have any big e-commerce platforms or e-commerce applications, so we had to build everything from scratch. product database, order management, and so on. And my experience was really overwhelming at that point in time, because I had to learn everything from scratch. So I had to start HTML, I had to start with Java, I had to start with actually, how do I deploy stuff? How do I make sure an application is actually running, and so on. And that's where I started to, okay, I have to do this. I have to do everything now, because I mean, I'm the new guy. I'm being watched very carefully. I want to perform very well. And what I did and what I have learned since then is, okay, I just put as much effort in there as I could. Obviously, a lot of more hours than I was expected to work, which went really well for a short period of time. But then in the end, if you overwork, in the end, you are overworked. So I found the balance to get back in there. And in the end, overall, all those years, just saw that, okay, you will not get perfect, and you will not get to that perfect developer that does everything. And you need to just focus on what you actually want to do and want to achieve. So that's where I started. And then the next one is, you recommend doing it with oneself or with others, or both for the self-retro? It depends. Well, actually, it's very easy to do it with yourself. Obviously, you don't need anyone. You can just take aside some time. It really helps to have some notes. So if you discover during your daily work, okay, this is something that that I find really interesting, or that is a lessons learned, then note that down. Because at least for me, if I see this today, and I'm pretty sure if it's not very, very important, I will forget this pretty quickly. So just have a small notebook, and then in intervals, pick what works for you. If it's a week, if it's 2 weeks, if it's a month, then just go through your notes and just see, okay, this and this and this, and then just think about that. And then again, pick the interval, do that maybe in addition with someone else, and that may be a colleague, or you may have a couple of colleagues where you ask one more often, or the other one in other intervals. So just do that, because you will get different input. I mean, input from yourself will be different than input from a colleague, because he or she may see different things that you not even thought were important. So it's not one or the other. In the end, it's both. And you just try it out and see which intervals works best for you. Is it a week? Is it a month? Or whatever in there. Okay, and the next thing is, what is the ratio now coding team leading for you? My ratio now is pretty low on coding and pretty high on team leading. So I'm transitioning more and more away from the code, which on the one hand is a hard thing, because by heart, and I still want to do that. But what I've seen, or what I've found out, is that the influence that I have by mentoring others or by teaching others is a lot bigger than just coding myself. So if I'm coding really well, I'm one person doing that. But if I manage to coach or to evolve 2, 3, 5 other people, and they then start to code really well, or on the right thing, on the right problem, then my impact in not coding, but teaching others to code better or more easily, is a lot more than if I coded myself. So I still like to do it, and I still do it. But from a percentage perspective, I think at the moment I'm doing maybe 20% coding and 80% actually coaching or being a team lead. And okay, so I've got 40 seconds left. So for the last question, what is the main purpose of the team lead? Which is what I just told you. So the team lead should make sure that the rest of the team can work really well, has everything that they need, and in the end, it sounds cheesy, but that they are happy in what they're doing. So if the team is well motivated, if the team is happy, if the team knows I have support from up there, then the results will be better, and everyone in the end will be able to deliver more and have a happy experience in that. And I guess that's it. So time is up. And what I say is, again, thanks everyone for attending. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.